One of the most exciting things anyone could ever experience in their whole lifetime is closing on a real estate transaction. That doesn't mean it has to be a long and confusing process. Stay tuned and we'll take a look at that. Hi, I'm Kelley Knitz of the Kelley Knitz Team. Thanks for joining me today. The closing of a real estate transaction seems to always be accompanied with a little anxiety and maybe some uncertainty. In reality, a closing should actually not be hard at all as long as you follow these 8 steps that I'm going to go over with you. Closing a real estate transaction can be painless. The reason for the length of the closing process isn't to confuse anyone or to deter anyone. There's actually a simple process or system to follow to make sure you dot all of your I's and cross all of your T's. Step number 1, collecting earnest money. Once you have an accepted contract, we'll be collecting some earnest money and putting it into an escrow account. The escrow account is a non-interest bearing account, and it does get cash put in there and it stays there until closing. Then a check will be made right back out to you, and you could either use it toward the purchase or just, take it with you and put it in your own bank account. Step number 2, conduct a title search and get title insurance. And conducting a title search and getting a title insurance is basically a very important measure to take, because what they do is they do extensive research on the ownership of the property, making sure that the owner does own it free and clear and there aren't any encumbrances or encroachments or anything like that, or any liens on the property. So getting title insurance and title work done is a very important step in the process. Once in a while, the title work will come back with some irregularities. Some of them are a surprise to people. So those things need to be taken care of before the closing happens. Like I said, sometimes there might be another party who has interest in the property, maybe an ex-wife, or there may be some liens on the property, or there might be some tax liens on the property. You just never know. So that's why title work is so important. Number 3, hire a real estate attorney. While optional, hiring a real estate attorney to represent you in a real estate transaction is highly recommended. Hiring an attorney that specializes in real estate will provide you with a peace of mind. And the attorney will make sure all the documents are prepared properly and they will identify any potential problems. Number 4, conduct a home inspection. Some may think that a home inspection is not necessary. I totally disagree with that. You really need to ask yourself when deciding whether or not to hire an inspector, why wouldn't you? The cost of a home inspection is minimal, and it could save you so much trouble down the road, and they can uncover all kinds of problems, and you'll be able to negotiate maybe a better price or back out of the deal if you can't seem to come to an agreement. But hiring a home inspector is vital in a real estate transaction. Number 5, consider subsequent negotiations. At this point, you may have realized that closing a real estate transaction is all about protecting yourself. And so closing a deal should include significant safety measures, evaluate where you stand, and determine whether or not your offer price needs to be tweaked. Usually that happens if the home inspection came back with complications, especially expensive things like foundation issues or roof issues and furnace issues, all of the bones of a house, maybe a septic and a well issue. Those are really things that you can negotiate to get a better price. Number 6, removing contingencies. Contingencies are the clauses in a contract that will allow you to back out of a contract. So let's say it could be contingent upon you're getting financing. If you can't get financing, you can back out of the deal. Contingent upon possibly the sale of your home so that you can buy this home. That happens sometimes. There are all kinds of different contingencies that can be put into a real estate transaction. So generally you have to remove them in writing. Once the contingency has been met, then it should be removed in writing and signed by both parties. And number 7, a final walkthrough. No deal should be brought to the closing table without the buyer having the opportunity to do their final walkthrough. The final walkthrough is very important because what if, for instance, you go into the house and you're closing that day and you get possession at closing, but the owner has left all kinds of stuff in the property. You want that to be removed before you have a closing. So I would do your final walkthrough as soon as you get the clear to close. maybe a few days before closing to take care of any issues that might arise. Another thing that could happen is maybe, while they were moving some furniture in or out, they might have put a hole in a wall or just something that wasn't just right when you looked at the property and had your offer accepted. Maybe they took and swapped out refrigerators. Maybe they took a chandelier and put a different one up. Anything could happen between the time span of when you apply for your loan and go to the closing table. So make sure you do your final walkthrough to make sure the house is as it was when you decided to buy it. And you can walk through and make sure it's what you expected. And number 8, sign the papers at closing. The most important step in a real estate transaction is the closing and signing the appropriate paperwork necessary to close. Sometimes there can be as many as 100 pages, even more, quite a large stack of documents to sign at the closing table. And it's recommended that your attorney attend the closing with you and go over those documents with you to make sure that he doesn't see anything alarming or anything that is not necessary for you to sign. So as soon as you sign all of your documents, then you are now the proud owner of a new home. While closing a real estate transaction may seem like a lengthy process, I can assure you that all of these steps are there for your protection. So take my advice and follow these steps as they're there to help you. And I'd like to thank you for allowing me to share this information with you today. If you found it helpful and you liked it, click the like button. And if you want to review more videos as they become available, subscribe below and you'll be notified when the next video is available. And finally, if you have any questions or comments about the closing process, then please leave them below and we'll answer any questions as soon as possible. Thanks for joining me today.